Hey, hey, hey. I don't know how many people are going to watch this video because it's a little different than my normal topic, but I got a request from King of Kill. So thank you, King of Kill, for the topic. I recently watched the series or movie series on Amazon Prime called Them, and I just finished it yesterday. It took up a lot of my Saturday and Sunday. I had actually watched a part of it, like the beginning, maybe a, a week. It was some days before. And I was like, no, this is too creepy. It's too scary. I'm not going to do it. If you watch any of my videos, you guys know I am not into scary movies, thrillers, none of that. None of it. So I was like, no way, this is creepy. I'm getting, it's weirding me out. So, um, oh, sorry. On my phone, I'm echoing. Okay, oops, sorry. Okay, so, and hey, King of Kill, I just shouted you out because you gave me the topic idea. So, yeah, I was like, no way, I'm not doing it. I just can't watch it. So, for some reason on Saturday, I was like, I kept hearing about them and people were talking about it. I kept seeing it pop up on Amazon Prime. And I was like, you know what? Let me just try it because I knew there was some type of meaning behind it. People were saying like comparing it like them and Us, the Us movie. Or was it Us? Yes, Us, and then Get Out. Like all these thrillers. And so I just decided Saturday, you know what? I'm doing it. I'm going to watch this movie. And I started watching it in the daytime. Took up way too much of my time between Saturday and Sunday, but I got through it. And I kind of just wanted to get the thing over with. I was just like, I just want to know what happens to these Black people. Like, what is going to happen to them? Because in my mind, I thought I knew what was going to happen. Like, I thought it was going to end completely miserably. But at the same time, I still had some hope. Like, there's got to be something. It can't just end in chaos and, they all just disappear in the end. So, anyway, I don't think a lot of people are going to watch this again because I think it's very different than what I do. But some of the biggest things I want to talk about. So, if you haven't seen the movie series, don't watch it because I don't know if I'm going to give any spoilers. I'm going to try not to, but you just never know. But I'm just going to talk about some of my takeaways from the movie and have a discussion with you guys because it was a lot. Like I was actually somewhat happy that I'm by myself because it just took a lot of emotion. And yeah, I'm going to walk through some of the things I took away. But overall, I was like, a lot of things were so true in the movie and, relatable for many Black Americans. And yet it was horrible. Like it was horrific. So I want to talk about some highlights. Hey, Carmen, welcome in. Nice to see you. Good evening to you. King of Kill, hey, and thank you for the topic. Hey, Partly Cloudy. You like the movie? Okay, what did you like about it? I gotta know. Haven't seen the ending. Oh, King of Kill. Okay, I'm gonna try not to spoil it for you, but I do want to talk about the ending a little bit, just from a takeaway perspective of what I got. And hey, Edward, thank you. Thank you. I haven't been approved yet, so we'll see. I am on day 4 of waiting, so I'm playing this waiting game of being approved. So, knock on wood that everything happens and I get approved. But thank you. I guess congrats in advance. I appreciate that. Okay, so let's get into this movie and just to make sure we're all on the same page. Like, let me just show what I'm talking about. The movie that I'm actually talking about and referring to during this video is going to be this movie right here, the movie Them. And this is, it's a lot. It's a lot. I'm not going to play the trailer or anything, but if you haven't seen it in your spare time, like check it out when you start, you may don't start it if you don't want to finish it because it is a lot and you will just want to get through it and understand it. So this is the movie I'm referring to. So I just want to talk about the high level, what I got from it. And here's the thing. The biggest things that I took away is that, one, this movie highlighted the horrors of racism in this country, and blended like multiple years of the history, because you're taken into different eras within this country and you see that the same thing keeps happening. So it's really interesting to hear people like Kamala Harris and what's the other, it's like a senator, these Black Americans seemingly say America isn't a racist country when you look at the history of what are things built off of? History, nothing is just built out of thin air. So the history is what builds a lot of what we see today. There were no history, we wouldn't see anything today. That's what it's built on. So we look back at history to see what the country's built on. So that was the biggest thing. Racism is horrific. The other thing that came across for me is that racism itself is a mental illness to all people, because you see all the characters, the Black characters, the white characters, mentally, they're going through it. They're going through it. Obviously, the Black people are being terrorized, not only in real life, but also mentally in their mind. And it's like, it brought me to today. And, there's a lot of highlight on mental health for Black Americans. Many Black people still today, I was actually talking to my mom. I was like, you know what? I think I need to get a therapist because I want to talk about this. And she was like, no, you don't need a therapist, yada, 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 yada. And it's that old way of thinking. It's like, no, if you look at the trauma that we've had in our history and what we continue to go through, obviously not as horrific as in the past, because we have made some advancement, but the racism is still there. It just looks different. So, and that's my view of it. But the mental issue, you see even the white characters. One of the characters, this white man, is literally tormented because of his hate for Black people. Just this easy, smooth, brown skin brought so much hate. And so you even see the community that these people, where they moved to, this Black family, they're part of this migration away from the South because they had this trauma happening in the South, I think North Carolina. And like many African Americans, they migrated from the South in hopes of better. So some went to the North, some went to New York, some went to St. Louis, Missouri, which is pretty Southern to me because I'm from St. Louis. When I went to New York, people were calling me a Southerner. So pretty Southern to me, but it's seemingly better. And then went west as well. So they moved to Compton, which is an all-white neighborhood. And that's where you think the issues began, but they actually began in North Carolina. So it's a lot. It is a lot it's a lot. I don't even know what else to say other than that. It's just like so much. Where do you begin? Them is a little confusing. It is confusing. It's confusing, I think, up until the end. So, Edward, did you see the end of the movie? In Partly Clouded, did you see the end of the movie? Again, like, no spoilers. I'm trying not to spoil it for everyone, but just know something may come out of this where I'm explaining portions of the movie. I like pretty much all of it like another history lesson. Good point. Yes, because it did. The horrible and beautiful thing about the movie is that it brought pieces of history. Like this, thank goodness, did not actually, as far as we know, did not happen to a family where they were terrorized physically after moving to, a white neighborhood and moving into a haunted house and all of these things, or haunted land, what we later find out. But they pulled pieces of history, like, for example, the migration to the West, all the things that have been done to Black women health wise, right? To women, to Black women's body, to Black men's bodies, even for testing, right? It's like, gosh, where do you even start? The redlining, the white flight, because it's so horrifying to see Black people can buy a house in your same neighborhood. The issues that I want to start with are with the Black man here. So Mr. Emery. And he has so many issues because, I mean, he's a great Black man here, right? He wants to protect his family. That's, anyone that thinks, oh, men should protect their family, their wife and children, right? They want to protect his family. He wants to provide for his family. So he's an engineer. He went to school. He's very smart, and he's a great engineer. So he gets this job on the West. Hopeful about the job too. And he wants to make sure he protects his family. So he's doing the best he can, right? But not only is he doing all of that, like, you could easily say for men, that can be a lot. You're providing for your family. You're trying to take care of your wife and your daughters. You can't follow them around 24/7. So how do you make sure they're all safe? You have to go to work and your wife is at home. How do you protect everybody? But not only that, he's dealing with racism generally, and he's also dealing with racism in the office. And so we see that a lot in a lot of different instances with his boss and how his boss talks down to him. He doesn't want him to meet with the lead over the engineering group. He doesn't want him to join the party, which that does happen even today. Certain people, I won't even say necessarily it's always a race thing, but people are left out of certain groups, are left out of being in the know, which helps your career. So being left out, and being left out financially with not being offered the bonus that everybody else got. So he's dealing with all of this while still trying to focus on the work. And then later in the movie, we see that one of his neighbors is really upset and struggling himself and feels bad himself because this Black man has a job better than him and can afford the same house in this neighborhood, and takes it out on this Black man because of that. Because how dare he? How dare he be the same as me? How dare he? He can't be the same as me. I have this white skin. This white skin, it's automatically superior. So we see that. And that's why I say the illness like, people want to say it's just affecting Black people. But when your superiority and the thought that you are, I don't know, legitimate or so great comes from putting someone else down, or because someone else has a different color than you, and it's because of your color that makes you so great, that's really not. That's actually terrible. Okay, let me look at a few comments. What do you guys think about that? Like, what did you have any thoughts? Could you relate to the issues that Mr. Emery had as he was, like, dealing with work? He's losing out on money. At the middle, some point of the movie, we find out that he's got this higher interest rate than what's even feasible. So we find out about that, and that happened, right? That's still happening. Black people get higher interest rates in general. We find that there are more payday loan businesses in Black neighborhoods. So a lot of that stuff still happens, right? So it was, and that's just one person. Just one, he's just one person. We got a whole family here and a whole cast of people to talk about. Let me see here. And King of Kill, since you brought up the topic, if you're still in here, we'd love to hear your thoughts as well. He might have dipped out if because he knows. He said he didn't watch all of the movie. Thank you, Edward. Yes, please do hit the like button. No, you're still in the series. Oh my goodness. Okay, I might have some spoilers, so I'll try to keep it brief, and then maybe we can talk about it once everyone's watched the full movie. Hey, another movie I recommend is Hidden Figures. Yes, I like Hidden Figures. It's completely different as far as just the cinematography and what is highlighting. It's very focused on Black women. I want to say this is probably the only movie I've seen where you see how it's affecting the family, like the mom, the dad, the kids. And so you see the mental issues and how it affects the kids in this horror. It's really interesting. So let me just kind of walk through the rest of the cast and give some highlights. So this was like the bigger takeaway that I got from the movie, because you'll see this in the ending. I'm not going to give anything away. Not really, because you won't know until you see it. So a part of the movie, as you get towards the end, explores the power that Black people have when they relate to their culture, like the African culture. There's a part in the movie where one of the white persons asks this Black woman, it's not Mrs. Emery, it's someone else, where do you come from? Like, what's your culture? Basically asking her about her culture, her language, whatever. And she says she doesn't know. That's further back than she can remember. But as far as she knows, she's just American. And they laugh at her. And I thought that was interesting because for Black Americans, you see a difference in economics from Black Americans that were brought here, decades ago, as slaves the descendants of those people that survived that journey, survived the terrors of slavery, Jim Crow, all of that, and here we are today. But when you see people from like different African countries, Caribbean countries, typically they tend to do pretty well. They tend to do pretty well. And I always wondered, is it because of the fact that, there's a lot of thinking behind it, but is it the fact that they know their culture and they have that base and they have that kind of pride, I guess, in their culture? Whereas here, we've only been seeing ourselves as Black American, really set away from our culture. So there's my biggest takeaway in the movie, and you'll get it when you reach the ending, is finding that empowerment with going back to your original culture and pushing away from the culture that was given to you. And a part of that culture, a big part of it is religion. That comes up in the movie. And you guys know my thoughts on religion. As it plays into the Black culture. And so the white people see it as, there are some things that Black people come across that helps the white Americans. And they see it as, well, we've been trying to do this. How is it that these people can do it? How did they find this resource? I won't tell what it is, just so I don't give it away. But how are they able to find this resource? How is God hearing them over us? And they start saying, it must be that African magic. So I thought that was interesting because later we see two characters. For those that haven't watched the full thing, you probably haven't seen the next character yet, but they go back in time and you get to learn a little bit more about how did we get to this place where these people are being haunted. And you find that These two Black women, once they realize their power, they are able to overcome some things first mentally, then you see the physical power that they have. It's very interesting. So there's that. The other part of the movie is the spoiler, so please close out if you don't want a spoiler. The Black woman, Emery, Miss Emery, pictured here. Mrs. Emery, sorry. She is taken to a mental institution because of something she does to, they say that she's done to her child. It's interesting because she's taken to this mental hospital or mental prison. And I thought that was such a play on words because she's literally in a mental prison and she's taken to a mental prison physically. So it's like this play on the physical realm and like the mental or spiritual realm. Like every angle you look at it, there's a physical and then there's the spiritual side. So it's like not only does racism affect us physically as people, but mentally and spiritually, it affects us. So I thought that was interesting out of the movie. Again, like you guys know, I'm pretty deep, so I don't just see the movie for what it is. I look at more than oh, that's a good movie. You know, that was great. You know, I look at more, especially a movie like that because it was like, again, it's terrible, but it's great at the same time. So creative, so well done. The acting, top notch. So there's that point. Let me pause and look at some comments here, though. Let me see here. I liked the episode where he purchased a television set. Yes, but you know what's interesting about that, Edward? He purchases this television set, and that this is another thing that's really deep for me. What is television? It's the media. What happens after he gets that television set? We get another character, a spiritual character. We see the man in blackface. He acts black, he talks black, but is he black? Is he black? Is what we're going to find out at the end of the movie. I'm sorry if I'm giving away spoilers, but I'm trying not to. But this man, he brings out another mental crutch for this Black man, Mr. Emery. Gets this TV, he's watching television, and he said, what is it? I think he's called the tap dance man or something. He's a dancer. And we know that blackface happened in this country to mock Black people. So not only is it physically a mockery of Black people, but he gets into this man's mind and plays on his emotions and in his mind, shortcomings. He couldn't protect his wife, couldn't protect his children. How is he going to provide for his family? He pretty much hates the scenario that he's in at work because they're undermining him pretty much every chance they get. Specifically his boss. His boss, like that actor, he's a good actor. I can't remember his name, but he also played in the show The Game. I feel like anything I've seen him in, he's always playing some kind of sleazy. He's playing like some kind of sleazy character, trying to get over on somebody. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can get the cast. But yeah, oh man, this guy. But yeah, he's like, I don't like it, but he's got to pay for this house, got to take care of his kids. Like, what else is he gonna do? Okay, let me see here. PJ Byrne is the boss character, and he's just, he's terrible. It's terrible. Let me see here. KB, hey everybody. Finley is saying hello. It's been a while. Oh, thank you. Hello, Finley. Thanks for coming by. Okay, I think I've gotten all the comments. Oh, wait. Oh, E. Dunlap. Hey, E. Dunlap. Let me see what you have to say. there's no such thing as a monolith black culture. That's true. There are things fellow blacks do in the name of culture that I stay away from. Unfortunately, we're very adversarial for the most part. I mean, like if you generally think about black culture, though, there's people that are against hip hop. There are people that's for hip hop and say it's great for our culture, but we can't see what negatively is done to our culture. And the crazy thing about things like hip hop is like, okay, who profits off of who profits off of it, and then who goes through a lot of horrors from it, because this culture of hip hop rap it originated in a positive place, and then it was tainted and now turned into people talking about things that are terrible for any community, especially Black community, one that's trying to move forward. So yeah, I definitely agree. Okay, so what was the other point? There's so much to talk about. Oh my gosh. So that's the dad. So yeah, he gets the TV, and we get another we get another terror for this man. He doesn't have enough going on with just trying to keep people from killing his family, coming in his house and terrorizing his little girls, his wife, and himself. He's got to deal with work and this whole entity that is playing on his mind and on his insecurities. And I can imagine, I'm not a Black man, but I can imagine for any man that has a family, you're constantly thinking about these couple of things. How do you protect, obviously yourself? How do you protect your family? How do you provide for your family and keep them safe? How do you do that in a world where you don't really have a lot of power, especially during that time? Okay, so then we move to, let me make sure I got everything. Oh, okay, wait a minute. Okay, so the history. So we go back and we kind of get the originator, the man in the hat. Who is this man in the hat? Not the tap dancing blackface guy, but the man in the hat. Who is this man in the hat? We actually go back in time and we find out who this man in the hat is and what's his story. And this is the part of the movie I was kind of getting a little antsy. I was like, I don't care about him. Like, this is boring. I don't care about this man's life. Like, come on, let's get back to the story so we can get this over with. I just want to know about what happened to this family. Do they survive? Like, what happens? It's like one episode after the next. It gets worse and worse and worse until you're just like, just get it over with. Like, just get it over with. So I'm going to go back to Mr. Henry Emery in a second, but I do want to highlight the fact that this man in the hat, white man in a hat, he's one of the terrorizers mentally. He has an interesting story based on religion. He's a religious man, which I was wondering by the way he talked. I kept thinking he was. I was like, what is he, a pastor or something? This is weird. But yes, he was a religious man. And you see in the movie his hatred for the Black people come out as his religion says you cannot turn away a stranger and they find two Black people that need help. Not a stranger, but it's something else they use, another terminology they use, but someone basically needing help, right? Your, what is it called? Oh my gosh, why am I screaming? Why did you even help them? Just let them be on their own. Leave these Black people alone. So, okay, for it to, he's saying, I can help you because they have this broken wheel. They need help. He's saying, he's a pastor. These Black people are like, oh, he's a pastor. The religion, right? And so that actually was another thing that, for me, again, you guys know how I feel about the religion. Taking this religion that was given to you, just taking the religion given to you. It's not your own. It's not of your own culture. That being used for you to now trust this man that is a pastor or whatever he was, this religious man. He's trustworthy. He's a white man, but he's trustworthy. in these times, right? I'm sure Black people were like not trusting white people. I can imagine. Like they're burning people, doing all sorts of things to them. Obviously, there were some that were not doing that. There were some that were helping. But generally, people from the South, I can only imagine they're not being super trusting of white people. But the religion, so they trust him. They go, they follow him into his community full of white people. So history repeating itself. So they go, they trust. And these Black people actually help this community find a resource, helps the whole town. And that's when they turn on them, because they start going, well, how did they find a reason? How are they able to? We've been trying this whole time and all of these things because they're Black. They can't possibly. Racism is an illness. So the pastor, the religious man, he prays and he prays and he prays for God to relieve him of his hatred for these Black people that he's helping, until eventually that mental illness causes him to see stuff that's not even there. And it begins the horror for these people, this couple. So the woman is with child. Again, this is not the Emerys. This is another family. This is the prequel. How do we get here? How do we get here to where this lovely Black family has been terrorized? So he turns on the wife. He turns on the Black woman. Determines that they're the devil. They're demons. It's black magic. That's how they were able to help us find this great resource that we needed. And if we didn't find it, we probably would have died. So they all turn on them. All the white people, they follow this man in the hat, the pastor. And it's interesting. There's this one white woman that says, this is not of our religion. We shouldn't be doing this. Oh, they shush her up real quick. They shush her up. And it's crazy because you've seen this. You've seen this in history as well, where one white person wants to do something right thing. They know, like people know in their heart, like this is not right. And the white people then turn on them. They call them, names that I won't say on this channel, and start saying they're the same as the Black person. So then we get to the point where they do these horrible things to this couple. A pregnant Black woman and her husband. And at this point, for some kind of way, she goes deep into the African culture. It comes out of her and she's like, you're cursed. She puts a curse on everybody. And it's interesting because the guy, he's holding the Bible. Something happens to his Bible. If you know, you know. And they're burning these people up. And we know that white people actually did this to their own people. We know about the Salem witch trials. I read, what was that book? Scarlet Letter. We read about different things about the Salem witch trials. And so you could be called a witch just because someone didn't like you. She looked at me the wrong way. She thinks she's cute. She looked at my husband. I think she's having an affair with my husband. Whatever, you're a witch now. You're going to get burned at the stake. So they burn these people. That was not even just something they did to Black people, but obviously they did that in the series. So they even brought some of that thinking, the whole religion, under the guise of religion, right? Because you're a witch. Well, how do you know they're a witch? Because you said so? Okay. So we have that happen. They gouge their eyes out. They do all manner of things and they burn them, not knowing this woman has cursed these people. They all go down with them. And this is the land that the new family moved to. Now, before the pastor dies, he makes a commitment that he is going to torture these Black people for what they did. And then we go back to present day. We find out, why are these people getting terrorized? It's because of that history. Again, these people that are saying racism, America wasn't built on racism. It's like we're literally building history. We're building on top of history every day. What happened 200 years ago affects what happens today. So this country is indeed built on racism. America is a racist country based on what it was built on. I'm sorry, like thinking about the Native Americans, thinking about Black people, even thinking about, oh my gosh, Asians that were brought here. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on. So when you hear statements by some of the politicians, I'm just like, but how? How? Make it make sense. Okay, I'm going to pause and look at some comments. Hey, DOD. Edward says I should do movie reviews. Maybe I'll create a new channel and do movie reviews. This one was not planned. I was planning on talking about something completely different. Thank you, Finley. Hey, how are you, DOD? And I think you said you did watch the movie. St. Louis's misery in the South. It is. St. Louis is definitely, and you guys know I'm from St. Louis, so what they'll say is misery instead of Missouri, calling it misery. You watched it. Okay. Whitewashing history. Wait, the white woman curses racism. No. The Black woman does. The Black woman curses the pastor and the people that did these terrible things to her and her husband. And actually, she's with child too. So killed her child. And then we go to present day where this woman is attacked by white people. They kill her child. And then they move in their, in this society of all white people. Now, another interesting thing in the movie highlighted the terrible practices of these financial institutions that preyed on these families and people in general, but specifically Black people, right? Gave them higher interest rates on these mortgages that they could not get out of. So they could not build equity on their homes. So they were purposely doing this. And you saw this with the white woman realtor. And she goes to this meeting with all the men. She actually talks about it. And she's like, well, I don't think we should be doing this. Like, we could give them a regular rate. And then they push that away and tell her that she's not, she shouldn't be in this industry if she's not woman enough, or she was given a seat at the table because they thought she was woman enough to handle this. And so she keeps on doing it. There's another character that you think is okay. He ends up being in it with the realtor. So the police officer seemingly is like a decent guy, seemingly. But you find out why he's being so nice to this Black family, because he's getting money out of it. He's just as racist as the rest of this community, but he's getting paid to make them feel as comfortable as possible and keep them under control. Keep them in line. So a lot of different things happen with the family. So I haven't talked about the woman yet. I haven't talked about Mrs. Emery, because she's dealing with a lot. So, gosh, where do I even start? Let me hold off on her. Let me talk about the kids, and then I'll come back to her, because it's just so much, so much, guys. Okay, so we talked about Mr. Emery. He's trying to protect his family. He's trying to protect his kids, his wife. How do you do that while dealing with everything, racism at work and racism in society? So he's dealing with that. So we've got the person in his head, the blackface man, who's acts like a Black man, talks like a Black man, and tries to get him to believe that he is a Black man. and prompts him and pushes him to do things that he knows will get him in trouble, to let out his anger and just go and pum, 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 and, do all manner of things that we know what will happen if he does it. So a big saying he has in the movie is, "What you gonna do?" And he's pushing this man, which I'm sure many men probably have thought, especially during that time. Like, what are you going to do? How do you protect your family in that type of dynamic where looking at somebody can get you killed and your family killed? Okay, so the kids. So the oldest daughter, Ruby D, the one in the red top, she's dealing with a couple of issues. She's dealing with this fear. She doesn't want to be her mother. She does not want to be like her mom, and she kind of distrusts her mom because of what happened to her little brother, which was the baby that was killed in North Carolina before they moved to the West, to Compton. She didn't want to be like her mother, and she wanted to fit into this school with all white students. So the big takeaway there that I got from Ruby D and the little girl, Gracie, is the question of, and we talk about this a lot. I know Dr. Umar, who we talked about in another video, has talked about building schools specifically for Black children. So that question comes up because she struggles with that. She wants to be like the white students. And there's a part in the movie where she actually puts white paint on herself to look white. Again, this is all dealing with this mental, she has an entity that is pushing her to do certain things and playing on her fears. Which is crazy because, with our bodies, like in our natural form, our skin, like, we're not meant to really blend in. She stands out in her school for good reason. We have melanin. Melanin in nature and in people is meant to stand out. Like, plants have bright colors because of the melanin. We have melanated dark hues, because of our melanin. We have broader features. Our hair naturally goes up. Like, all these things stand out. So it's really sad to see her struggling with this. But a lot of us do. We talk about things like colorism. We haven't talked about featureism, but that's also a thing. All these issues that show in not only our community, but also Asian community, Latino community, other communities as well. So I also want to quickly talk about Gracie. The little baby girl. I had a tough time with the little baby girl. I was just like, baby girl, she's just adorable, this little actress. And she does a great job in this movie. So little baby girl is struggling with, so she herself is terrorized by a character out of her book that she's reading. The character is Miss Vera. And it's this authoritative character. It's like a teacher. She's a teacher. And so we find that she is being terrorized because she starts singing this song that a white woman at the beginning of the series was singing right before this woman, Mrs. Emery, or Lucky is her name. Lucky, before she takes her child and kills that child, and Lucky is R'd, I won't say the real word, but by these men, these white men. So all this happens in this movie. But she sings a song that same white woman sings. And from what I took away from the movie, everything that happened in North Carolina was real. So these people killed her son. They did all manner of things to this woman. And so she's going away from that. And they're trying to move west, build this new life. And so Gracie is looking for this authoritative figure, this teacher, and this figure is terrorizing her. Grace is also a little afraid of her mom. She doesn't want she doesn't want to be hurt like her little brother, the baby, because everyone thinks that the mom did it. And there's a history there too. There has been accounts of Black women, during the times of slavery, just killing their kids because they did not want him to suffer and go through what they've gone through. Thank you, Edward. Okay. And then, so it's so much. It's just so much. I'm telling you guys, I was literally yelling at the TV. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad no one is around me because this is like horrifying. Okay. So the biggest thing that I caught from Gracie is that there's this moment where she is in class. She's a very smart little girl, and she's getting terrorized. So she's saying this she's repeating cat in a bag because this woman is terrorizing her while she's in the classroom. But it was during the time where she was reciting the, what is it? It's late at night. I guess I have a brain fart, but our Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. So she's saying our Pledge of Allegiance. And so we know there's a lot of controversy with that. Like, should Black people even say that? Because is it true? Like, are these words even true? So she's saying that. She's saying this Pledge of Allegiance, and she's terrorized. And so that's what it made me think of. Like, the question of, should we even be saying these words, our Pledge of Allegiance to the flag and all of this, if it's not really true, if these freedoms were not meant for us. The other part of that is when the mom comes in, she's called in, and she gets her baby girl, and the teacher's saying that she shouldn't be in this class, yada, yada, yada. And the mom is like, she recognizes it. She's like, you know what? She shouldn't be in this class, and she should not be taught by you, or something like that, something along those lines. And so again, bringing up this question of, should Black students be taught by white Americans? I have my thoughts on it. I think that Black kids need to be taught. I have a whole perspective on it. Like, if I were to have a Black child, I do not think I would put them in American schools. I would want to either put them in a Black-owned school so that they can actually be taught the right history and taught good things about their culture, or I'm going to teach them at home. This is why I don't have kids. Like, I'm not dealing with that. That's just too much. Like, I don't want to have to think about, what am I going to have to reteach this kid? What are they going to be going through during school? It's just a lot. So personally, I have my own thoughts on that. I don't think personally I would want to do it for these reasons, because we hear too many stories of these kids. And one of the worst ones that was recent was this little girl was it a girl or boy? I can't remember, but this little kid, this Black kid, being taught by the white female teacher, that she was going to act as a slave, and then the white students were going to be, I don't know if they were the master or something. All I took away was that this kid was made to act like a slave. And it's just like, okay, well, if you're going to talk about that history, you need to go way back deep in the history. And what makes you think that's a good idea? If this was your child, would you make them do that? No, of course not. But it's fine because it's an other. It's them. And they use that reference in the movie a lot, the white people. Them. We've got to get them out. It's them, the other. Again, you guys know that's what all this separation, right, in our society. So That was a big moment because when she said those words to that teacher, I was like, yes, girl, yes. She should not be in that classroom. She doesn't need to be taught by the woman. And then the kids are being terrorized in school. It's just whole mess. They're being terrorized at home. They're being terrorized at school. The man's getting terrorized at work. The wife is getting terrorized in her home as she goes about. She's dealing with these housewives that are terrible. We got to talk about the white women in the movie too, because a lot of people want to put a lot of emphasis on the white men without really thinking that wives, come on, who's pushing men to do a lot of things? Men don't typically just, I mean, men do, but like, who's typically pushing a man to like, go do this, go do that? We need this. We need you to do that. The women are. And it actually, in the movie, it highlighted that, where I don't think a lot of other movies really do highlight the part that white women have played in our terrible history of slavery, racism, Jim Crow, and everything else. Let me pause here. DOD says, I believe the American flag is as racist as the Confederate flag. Interesting point. I can see why, DOD. Yeah, I can. Because it's the country as a whole. And to my original point of people saying that America isn't racist. Well, what else is it built off of? Like, how did we get here today? It's built on racism. Like, you just can't have it both ways. Either racism exists today or it doesn't. Where did the racism come from? Came from our history. What was this country built on? So it's a lot. Hi, Amrit Singh. Hello, welcome in. You just said G. Okay. Let me see. I would say Black kids shouldn't be taught in white institutions. But as long as there are charter schools and incompetent teachers, not all, and bad funding, I'll have to say no. Yeah. So that's the thing. Like, I know there's this push for Black schools, but I would really have to educate myself on that, because I really think the alternative for me would be I'm teaching them at home. And then, at least they have the basics, because there's so much education that happens. Those are really crucial years. You're building up your kids' self-confidence. You're building up the base knowledge that they're going to use throughout their lifetime, but also like if they go on to secondary education and things. So it's a lot. And again, the self-esteem, self-worth, self-confidence, communication skills, like all these essentials that build a person, you learn it when you're a kid. You learn a lot of it when you're a kid. So that was a big part. That part of the movie, I was just like, yes. Also, I don't recognize our children as kids. Kids are big. You know what? You're right, DOD. That is so true. And we use that word a lot. I know I do. I use the word kid a lot. So our children, we have children and not kids. That's true. Very, very true. Amrit is saying hello to DOD. Okay, cool. And Amrit, this is not like my normal content, but I'm doing a special tonight. Okay, what time is it? How long have I been on here? Okay, so I've got a few minutes. I don't want to be on here too long. Okay, so we get to Mrs. Emery. Mrs. Emery is dealing with holding this family together. And it's interesting because she actually saves the family in the end. Now, I don't want to take away from the Black man in this movie, because he went through it. Like, you could just feel the pain that he was going through at every moment. And I was just like, he's going to, like, the entire movie, like, if there was a camera in my house, I was just like, yep, he's going to blow up. Like, just get it over with and just get it done with so we can get on with this movie. Because I was just like, he's going to get everybody. He's going to blow up, get everybody. And then he's probably going to the gas chamber that's what I thought. I thought that's how it was going to end. Just because it was just too much. Like, they killed his baby boy, North Carolina. The white person's there. He moves to the West Coast. He deals with this world living all around white people that hate him as a man. He deals with these white men that are in the community downplaying him, calling him boy, doing things to his kids, little, like, well, big things to his house, um, kill his dog, which we find out wasn't the white people. It was actually the terror. It was the demonic forces at play that killed the dog. They had already killed his little baby boy, his baby boy, his boy. And, you know, a lot of men, they say they want a boy. They want a boy because they want to, you know, they want that legacy. Gosh. And he gets to a point where these men have come into his own house and are threatening to hurt not just him. He's getting hurt. He can take that. But they're threatening to hurt his babies, his little girls. And we see his struggle this whole time of how does he protect his wife and his little precious girls. So there's a part in the movie where the family just starts coming together individually, but then they start coming together. So the dad is getting attacked. The oldest girl makes a way, and she's like, "You're not going to take out my daddy without me fighting up for him." So I was like, "Okay, girl, you do what you got to do." So she helps, and he gets to be free to where he then can, you know, fight for his little girls and everything. And he's still being taunted by that entity, the what is it? Blackface entity. Again, this blackface character that's acting black, talking black, but is he black? He acts like he's gone through it. And that's how he's able to get into his mental. He almost gets him to a point where he is about to do something that would have been would have definitely sent him to the gas chamber. So he doesn't. They go back into the house. Meanwhile, Mrs. Emery has been taunted this whole time. The family even starts to think that she's just going mad. Meanwhile, they don't recognize that they themselves are being taunted and tortured. And I thought that was interesting because I do think a lot of pressure and a lot of highlight is put on Black women in our culture. It's just, this is me personally talking. I think everything is really like Black women being targeted in a lot of ways. When you think about colorism, yes, it affects men, but it really impacts Black women. You look at in our society, who gets a lot of the blame for where we're at today? A lot of times it's other Black women blaming other Black women, or Black men blaming Black women. Again, this is the general, not every single Black woman, not every single Black man, but a lot of the blame focused on the Black woman. So I thought that was interesting that they themselves could not see and realize that they were mentally being attacked and just saying that she's the crazy one. The little girl's mom's crazy. Is mom crazy? But they're mentally attacked as well. And the husband actually kind of going against it, but he's thinking the same. He's like, yeah, she's, you know, and that's a play on him too, because he doesn't want to admit it. He wants to be there for his wife, especially because he keeps thinking if he had only been there, if he had been able to protect his wife, he wouldn't have lost his son. She wouldn't have been attacked. And I don't know what word I can say on this channel as I'm waiting on my approval. But yeah, as she's being attacked by these white people, these white men, and this white woman is attacking the child. So he's got all of this going on, right? Still trying to hang in there, but eventually they just, some kind of way, we don't really see how, but she's taken to the mental institution. So she actually, once she's kind of threatened with this idea that she's not going to know her family, she's not going to even know they exist, Man in the Hat has a conversation with her. The terrifying Man in the Hat, the religious Man in the Hat. She gets this power, and she gets out. She gets free. Mentally, she breaks out. Like, once she breaks out mentally, and that was the key part, she had to break through mentally to physically get out of this mental institution before they could do harm to her physically. So she had to start mentally, break free, and then break free physically out of that mental prison. So again, you guys know I'm deep. So she breaks out and she goes straight to her family. The Black woman, the one that's been looked at this whole time, is the one that brings everybody together, because she gets to that house, and what's happening? Everybody's being terrorized. These entities are going hard on this family, on the little baby girl, Gracie, the little tiny girl right there, the little cutie, Ruby D, and of course, Mr. Emery. So Gracie has Miss Vera. Ruby D has this pretty white girl, seemingly pretty white girl, that's about her same age. Her friend. And I thought that was interesting too, because it's like, can you trust it's interesting. It's like that question of, can you trust your white friends? And she said something interesting. I'm trying to help you. And so we have this question of white people that say they're trying to help, and in their mind, they probably are wanting to help you. But it's interesting that Malcolm X always was anti getting any help from a white person with his movement, for his cause. You can help us by leaving us alone. He didn't say it like that, but that's basically what he was saying. And so it brings up so much of the challenges within, the society that we have today and what we've had in the past. And so it was that question of like, because throughout the movie, you see this little white girl, that she's not real, it's like an imaginary friend. You quickly kind of see this imaginary friend, but she seems nice. She seems like she's trying to help the girl. Of course, me with my little Spidey hat, Spidey senses or whatever, I'm questioning everybody at this point. Just like, I don't trust anybody. Don't trust you. But again, like, if you could have been a fly on the wall as I'm watching the movie, I was just like, it's just like on the edge of your seat the whole time. So she's trying to help her. How does she help her? Tries to get her, in the end, we see she's trying to get her to take her own life, which was the goal. Get them mentally. That was the promise that this pastor made to the devil, thinking that he's God. That's the crazy thing. Thinking that he's doing God's work, but he's doing the devil's work. So again, that whole idea, right, of the religion, God's work. Meanwhile, doing all sorts of evilness in the world. I'm Christian. This is for God. This is God's work. So it's like that question too, of religion. Like, oh, you're doing God's work. Okay. Yeah. Right. Gosh, there's so much to unpack. Okay. I'm going to try to get through it. So we find Ruby D is the first one that Mama has to get to. I think. Wait, no. Gracie, I think, is the first one that the mom gets to, because little Gracie, has been snatched up and has been taken by Miss Vera. Miss Vera is literally whipping this child. Where did whippings come from? Where did this idea that you needed to spank children, whip children come from? Some of it came from the Christian Bible. Some of it came from actual whippings that happened to slaves. So I thought about that too, of that whole idea of, and what I think more consciously parents are rethinking, should you be whipping children? I think black and white people are rethinking that because, in the South, white, black kids alike have probably gotten plenty of spankings. So that question of like, where did that come from and why would you do that to a child? Alternatives for that. Thought that was very interesting. But she catches Ms. Vera, and the interesting thing is the mom is fighting this entity, and it doesn't end until the little girl realizes, look, I created this entity. I created you, Miss Vera. She goes to her book. This little girl, she created this entity. She takes the page out of the book and rips it all up, and poof, the thing is gone. Miss Vera is gone. And something I took away from that, again, deep thinking, is this whole idea of manifesting. How you can literally create things. If you manifest it in your mind, if you write it on paper, if you say it out loud, if you draw it, you produce a video, it can be manifested into the world. So we have to be very careful what we're saying, what we're writing, what we're creating into the world, right? So again, take away from me, take it or leave it. Oh my gosh, I see a comment. Let me pause and look at some comments. So sorry. I'm getting wrapped up in I'm like thinking back. This movie traumatized me for 2 days. My goodness. Oh my God. It's not funny, but it's like, it's just, oh my gosh. Also, I don't, okay. I read that. We live in a country where a 6-year-old Black child can be sent to court for picking a flower. Ponder that. Right? Literally doing anything at this point. Just being alive while Black. You can go to court for it. That is so sad. Lucky had to be brutalized and traumatized in order to heal from a previous brutality and trauma. Yes, Tech Valor. Right? And it was just like, as you watch the movie, it's just like, where does it end? It just keeps getting more and more traumatic each episode. Let me see here. Cosmic Duality. Hello. Father of 3 and never yelled, never mind hit my kids. That's good. That's really good. Thank you. Wise word for, yes, for all humans. Definitely. Breaks your heart. I know it's a lot. It's so much that we're dealing in this country in general. Okay, where was I at? So Gracie, little child, she saved her mom by getting rid of this entity that she created. So we do have to be careful with what we're thinking, what we're saying. Music, although I can't show a direct, impact in this movie necessarily, but the music that we listen to. We talked about earlier a little bit with Black culture and the power of the music, how you're literally manifesting these things. So if you're listening to, or if you're creating music that's constantly talking about these negative things, that happen in our community, negative things that happen in our community. We know what they are. I'm not going to say it on the platform because I'm still waiting approval. But how do we stop it if we're constantly manifesting it in our community? I don't know, because it's now a part of our culture. The culture that was created based on what? What did we say this country was based on? Country was built on racism. So maybe that is a part of why Black Americans still struggle when trying to get ahead, whereas people that come from Nigeria and Ghana and Cameroon or Jamaica, they come here and they can thrive. They can get somewhere. Got some things holding us back, but it's not all physical, maybe. Maybe it's stuff that we're manifesting. So anyway, I caught that. I caught that she had manifested this entity herself. Took it out of her book. It's in a book. So anyway, she destroyed it. It's gone. So mom's on to the next one. Mrs. Emery, lucky, she is on to the next. She's saving her kids. She's saving her husband. So she moves on to Ruby D. What is Ruby D being terrorized by? She is being terrorized by the entity that has been portraying her friend, this pretty white girl that has been her friend, who is telling her now to she's broken a mirror, and she is doing all manner of things, right? If you've seen the movie, you know what these gestures mean. So the mom comes and she's not afraid of the girl cutting her. She actually, little girl, she's out of her mind at this point. She gets into her mental and she's like, I am not going to hurt you. She has to kind of rebuild that trust because the entity has played on her fears. She's afraid she's going to be like her mother, gone crazy, done away with the little, baby brother, might get her next. Can't trust her mother, her own mother. And I see that in this community because of a lot of things that have impacted the community. And there are mother-daughter scenarios where it is like that. You can't trust the mom or the mom doesn't trust the daughter and vice versa. And it's like, it kind of brought me to something I talk about on this channel a lot, is that as a Black people and any people, like, you can't heal until you learn to trust each other. So a Black woman and a Black man, they have to learn how to trust each other. And I think that's a big issue that we have in our community right now, is that we don't trust each other. It's like, and how can you trust each other when you got a percentage of the population saying Black women are this, and you got a percentage of the population, saying Black men are that, and and all these negative things. Like, at some point, we're just gonna have to come together, do a kumbaya, like, get it all out, and build up together. Like, it's just so much deeply rooted things that we've been taught to hate each other and taught to hate this. Which brings me to the next thing. Ruby does not like this. She's been in this white school, all these white students. She's been treated badly. There's a part in the scene where she's sent to the principal's office for disrupting the class because she answered a question correctly. She was, I think, asked to quote Emily Dickinson or name the author, and it was Emily Dickinson. And the whole class started making monkey sounds at this girl. And instead of the teacher doing something for the class and making them stop or whatever, she gets Ruby and makes her go to the principal's office. And that's where we actually encounter that entity of the friend, this pretty little white girl who's her friend. So she doesn't like her Black skin because of all of this happening to her. And she wants to be like them. She wants to fit in. And that would be like any kid, right? No matter what race. Kids want to fit in with others. They're learning self-esteem. They're learning about themselves. They're trying to find, trying to figure themselves out. So of course she's going to want to be like the other students. Just like, if, I don't know, I'm going to try to relate it to the other, so non-Black people. If there's a kid that is a little boy and all the rest of the boys in the class, they're 5'9" and he's 5'2", he's going to want to be 5'9". I'm trying to make a correlation there. Probably not a good one, but you guys know what I mean. So she doesn't like her skin. We find her putting white paint on herself as this entity has prompted her that she can look like her. Put some white paint on yourself. Like, what kind of stuff is that? What kind of sense does that make? But she's mentally gone. So that's what she's being terrorized with. Her mom has to get her to trust her again. And she breaks down that entity. Mission accomplished. Mom is making strides. She's taken back her power. She's taken back her little kids, and now it's on to her husband, who has really been through it. He's been physically brutalized by these white men, specifically one of the white men that's just, they were really looking for any reason to go into this home and terrorize this man. Okay, let me take a quick break and see some comments. Oh my gosh, I'm over time, but I want to wrap everything up. I'm trying here. Hey, I'm here. Got invited to eat though, so I'll catch the replay. Okay, cool. Well, thank you for bringing the topic up. I appreciate it. Okay. Triumphant Tiff. Hey, I do hate the R word. It makes no sense. We're all one. Yes, that's true. Cosmic duality. It's true. We're all one. We're all one. We're all human. Like at the end of the day, we're all human. But just like religion, politics, all these things that, have caused us to, hate each other or see this one and that one as different. It's just, yeah. But then when you look at nature and you see that animals can get along. This one's fur is red, that one's fur is white. They're getting along fine. We can't seem to do it. Yeah. Triumphant Tip, I agree on the music piece. You cannot sing and rap about death, destruction, and twerking on constant replay and expect to be able to be positive and active in the community. Thank you. Thank you. Because yes, and there are people that will fight and say it's a part of our culture, yada, yada. But if you are manifesting these things, if you're listening to these things constantly, just like if you're watching TV and all you were watching is violence, well, can we be surprised if a person was to do a violent act if all they're listening to is violent music and violent TV? You're literally training yourself. There's a reason why, as a trainer, we use different forms of educating, because we know some people learn by listening, others learn by seeing, others learn by doing. So you're learning by listening to this music, you're learning by seeing on the TV, and then most likely what you're trained to do, like listening and seeing, you're going to actually take action and do it. This is done by many companies train people to do a task. So if I needed to produce a movie, I need to see, I need to, listen, I need to watch someone else doing it, and then I'm going to go produce a movie. It's no different than anything else. It's no different. I wish more people would realize that. You just can't. You can't keep, as a society, we just cannot continue perpetuating that stuff. It's not good for us. That brings me to another point. The little girl and the mom also, they were saying, we don't like this house, especially little girl Gracie. I don't like this house. We need to get out of this house. I don't like it. The mom, I don't like this house. But they wouldn't listen to that. I think, here's something else. I think men underestimate sometimes women's intuition, because oftentimes when women, whether it's a mother, whether it's someone that doesn't have kids, says something and it's just like, I don't know, but it's just a feeling. I think men just see that as like, oh, you're emotional. But sometimes it is truly our intuition telling us things. And I truly believe that women have intuition because of the fact that we can bear children. So we kind of need that because it's not like we're the stronger of the two genders, right? I don't think anyone looking at me will be like, yeah, she's gonna get you to protect me. No, but we have that intuition to help us protect ourselves and our children, our family, right? So I do think more men should listen to women and not think that everything's emotional, because that was another aspect of the movie too. Let me see here. You are correct, Jessica. Black American in the USA have generational oppression that is holding them back. That is why a poor person that migrates to the USA has a better chance of succeeding. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Thank you for that. Let me see here. Thank you, Edward. Yes, please do hit that like button, everybody. And thank you, Edward. And if you haven't checked out Edward's channel, please do. If you're in an aerospace, aerocraft, check him out. Yes, and the teacher gives Ruby a detention slip for distracting the class. Exactly, because at first I thought because she was kind of telling the class to simmer down or whatever. And I was like, is she serious? But I tried to play devil's advocate too, because I tried to put myself in her place of like, okay, what would you do? Would you feasibly be able to? You see the class is not listening to you. Would you feasibly be able to really get this class in trouble? Or is it better to give her detention so she can just get away from these kids that are literally making monkey sounds at her? Like, what do you do in that scenario? So I kind of was like, okay. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, this looks badly on her. So how many times have Black children been sentenced to something, whether it's, go to the principal's office or days out of school or whatever, because of something they didn't even do, So that was interesting. Yeah, I was pretty surprised too. And of course, you guys know I try to break down different angles. So I don't know. I don't know. Because it's interesting because, again, like with this movie, you see like the friend was not really a friend. And so even seeing the teacher do something like that, initially I'm like, that's just wrong. But then I'm also like, well, maybe that was good for her in that moment, because maybe that was the quickest thing that she could think of to get get Ruby out of that classroom. I don't know. Again, just trying to play the other side. I'm not white, I'm just a human man. The segregation has always been orchestrated by the so-called elites. I think it's going to get to a point where we will all see each other as human pretty soon once this AI gets to going. And I am going to be talking about something that Elon Musk said. I'll be talking about that in a different video, and it will kind of be an aha moment. But I really think we're going to be in a different place come some years from now, and we have more and more robots around us. I'm just going to leave it at that. But yeah, I've said a couple times on my channel, like I think we'll see each other as human once we have a common enemy. Gonna magically be like, oh, you're not white, you're human. Oh, you're not Black, you are human. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize. I did not realize. Okay, now I'm just being silly. We're all human, but there are cultural, physical, religious, intellectual differences. Yes, we should be able to acknowledge those differences without hatred and fear. And that's the issue. We can't. I shouldn't say we can't, but I literally think that we're all trained constantly to. I think it's just like kind of replaying, kind of like this movie. Like it's literally replaying history. Like how far are we really getting? How far are we really getting? Because if we're dealing with issues that people were dealing with 200 years ago, what has really changed? Does it just feel more comfortable for us, but nothing's really changed? Or has things actually changed? Like, obviously, we see things have changed. There are jobs that Black people couldn't get back in the day. There are houses Black people couldn't get back in the day. But I don't know if we're really free. Like, I don't know. I have thoughts on that. I agree. Women's intuition is on point. That's one of those differences that should be noted and cherished. Yes. Yes. So anyway, let me get back to the kind of wrapping this up. So Mrs. Emery, Lucky, what the irony of that name? Like she's the unluckiest woman I've ever I've ever seen in a movie. So okay, so Lucky. She Lucky when dealing with the husband, because he's like out of it. I'm trying to remember what exactly she had to do for him. I think so. His terror was the fact that he felt so guilty. He could not protect her. And so she had to break it down for him that he was not there. He could not have known that these people were going to do this. There's no way that he could have known. And that starts getting him back, bringing him back. But what he eventually has to do to get free is he actually, I want to call this guy Mr. Bojangles or something. I don't know. But the blackface guy who's been acting like a black man, talking like a black man this whole time. He takes a gun. Probably shouldn't have said that word, but anyway, he takes a gun. He like just gets this guy right between the eyes, and we think it's over. He got him. This guy starts coming back. He's like laughing or something. So he goes over to this guy, looks at him, and he tells him, "I'm nothing like you." Because this whole time he's been kind of reinforcing this idea that they're going to get you just like they got me. They cut my fingers off. They did this to me. They did that to me. What you going to do? What are you going to do? That's what he keeps asking this man. You're going to go through the same things that I went through. And he tells this man, I am not you. Then at some point he takes out the handkerchief because, back in the day, men always carried the handkerchiefs. And so he takes it out and he's in blackface. Remember, blackface was, a white man typically portraying a black man, putting a tar on the face to mock black people. He wipes his face, and he is indeed a white man. He's one of the white entities. And so I thought that was interesting because I thought about it a couple ways, because there are definitely black people that I would say aren't really helping other black people. They're not really helping the others. And then you also have, when you think of politics, you have a particular party that is, I got hot sauce in my bag and Hillary. I'm going to talk to every single rapper in the game. And if you don't vote for me, you're not black. Biden. You have these people, right? They're acting black, doing black things, saying they're the better option. We're good for you because what else do you have, right? What else? What are you going to do? What you going to do? What other option do you have? You only have us. You have to vote us. But what do they really do for us? Other than a lot of acting black, sounding, talking black, I don't know. So that's what I thought about with Mr. Tap Dance. I think he has another name. Let me see. Let me wrap this up though, because I know it's getting late. I think it was a tap dance man. I think. Let's see. Tap dance man. Yes, that's his name. Tap Dance Man. Okay. That is not the Man in the Hat. Two different people. Um, so yeah, he was doing a lot of pretending to get into the man's psyche. So once he actually said, I am not you, and he realized that he wiped off that tar off of his face and realized it was a white person, he was free. He was done. He was done. Let me look at some comments here. What? Mr. Research says we lights protect so many. What? Okay, we elites protect so many blacks, but those that get protected never given anything to advance the power of dark skin. No such thing as we should be managers or be managed by others, period. Interesting. Interesting. They called it a minstrel show. Yes, thank you, Tech Valor. Thank you so much for that. I wouldn't trust Elon Musk. Find out how he got his wealth. He's not an inventor either. He bought his technology. So, well, a lot of people did. So did what is it? What's the other guy? Zuckerberg. I feel like it's more about, it's not necessarily the person that invents the technology who is able to buy the technology. But I think Elon Musk says a lot of interesting things. I think he is a smart guy. But anyway, that's on another video. So, ending thoughts. Trying to make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, so we get back to Man in the Hat. Because Mrs. Emery has to face the Man in the Hat. And she actually, again, I say she's really powerful because she ends up playing him at his own game, and the people. So he's got this whole show for her. She goes down into the basement where all this terror kind of began. And she faces the Man in the Hat. And he tries to terrorize her, but in doing so, he opens up something about himself, that just like she had a son that died, that was murdered, he had a son that died. And so she taps into him and begins to terrorize him now and says, I see you. I can see you for what you are. I can see you. And everything kind of comes back to this man, and he is now terrorized, and he remembers the deal he made. He has failed. He has not succeeded in effectively getting rid of these folks. And so now he is banished to HELL. So that is pretty much the movie. Again, my takeaway, a lot of stuff happened in between. So even if you didn't watch the movie, you want to check it out, like, watch it, because you'll still be surprised. It's a very good movie, but it's horrific. There's a lot of history in it. And yeah, I mean, just plan on watching some comedy after the movie is over, or doing some woosah kind of something, because it's a lot to watch. Just the horrors that Black people in this country has gone through. They really brought the horrific part of it is that they brought almost not everything, but a lot of things into this movie from history. So it's not like on a day-to-day, every Black American is going through and all these things, but it's like all of that history. And how it kind of repeated itself and the trauma continued. So biggest takeaways for me: horrors of racism in this country, really highlighted. Racism itself is a mental illness to all people, because when you look at the white characters, I didn't really go into the white characters much, outside of the Man in the Hat and tap dance and basically the entities. you see there's mentally something wrong with all, like everybody is mental, like everybody has some issues. We see, I'm not even really going to highlight them, but just all of them have issues. So racism itself is a mental illness to all people, white, black, whatever. History of the country, it does not just go away. And I think a big takeaway of this, how the couple in the end, like when they do the flashback, how they kind of were able to kind of get revenge on these people that were terrorizing them, and how Lucky is able to free herself and her family, is basically saying no to all these things that we're taught in this culture, the things that we were given from the people in this culture, the religion, and all these things that say that Black people are less than. These things that say this, right? That has been a part of our culture. So when they say no to all of that, including that religion, they found a power where they were able to get beyond the mental prison and physical prisons, especially Lucky because she was physically in a prison. So she had to mentally get free and physically get free, only after really using the power of what is her Blackness, finding that the Blackness is powerful. It is not a disability. It is not a crutch. It is powerful. So her finding that and using that to be able to free the family and protect the family, because the interesting thing happened when she got back to the house. When she came back from that institution and got into her family, one thing, the white people kind of circled around her and they were saying this and that to her, and she just like screamed at them. And it was very reminiscent to the woman before from the past, where she said, "I curse you." And it shut everything down. Everybody was gone. Everything was shut down. And so she screamed. It's kind of like she let out all that frustration, and she kept going, and the fire came up to block them from entering the house. Now, I think some people will see that and say, oh, Black magic, whatever. I really don't see it as that. I see it as more her just kind of finding this power and a method to protect her family that stemmed from what the white people called African magic or Black magic. So, what else do I want to highlight? But yeah, and then again, like the part where the settlers are asking the Black woman about her culture. So I thought there was that tie into understanding our rooted culture and how we can find power in that and be able to either cope with what we're dealing with in this country or find ways to protect ourselves from what's happening. I thought that was kind of what I took away from the movie, at least. So that is the video. Hope you enjoyed it. I don't think too many people are going to rewatch this video just because it is so different than what I normally talk about on this channel. It is definitely not the norm. So don't get used to it unless you really want me to do movie topics and breakdowns. When I look at movies, I try to stick to action films. I don't do this deep thriller, horror. Typically, I don't do it because I am that type of person where I'm like analyzing every part of the movie and I'm like thinking back after. And sometimes I have even rewatched a movie and been like, oh, I want to know what this was. But that movie was a lot. It made you it will make any Black person think. And I think that's a good thing. I think a lot of us just need to sit down and we need to think. And Think about how things started. Think about the origins of this country. Think about the things that we have been taught and we're continuing to be taught. Um, but is it good for us, right? Is it good for us? And this idea that our friends, whether it's in politics or whatever, whether they're intentionally or unintentionally trying to harm us, not every good, what's good for them may not be good for us. A lot of times it isn't. And what another culture thinks is good for you may not be good for you. Most likely for us, it's not. So we do have to think deeper. And again, I think that movie brings a lot of those different elements down. So I definitely hope you appreciate it. I appreciate you guys kind of hanging out with me tonight and talking about it. Got a lot of stuff on my chest. I feel free. I feel like I'm still gonna think about this movie like a week later and be like, oh. But it was definitely a well done movie. I forget the man's name, but it is a Black man, I believe, that created the movie. I was trying to find him, them creator, because I was looking at him earlier. I don't know why, but I can hardly ever find when I'm trying to search it. Movie series producer. Let's see. Because someone messaged me and said white people created this movie, so I wasn't sure. But then I looked it up, and there was this man shown. So the creator is Little Marvin, which looks to be a Black man. Let me show. Yeah, he's definitely a Black man. So this is him, Little Marvin. This is the genius man that created this movie. He's handsome too. Hey, look at that. You guys know I'm being funny, but he's a good looking man. But yeah, so I am probably going to do a little research just to understand what all that's about. But it's interesting because it says dismantling the American dream, right? And the American dream is typically you go to a nice little neighborhood, you get a nice little house, you have your kids going to a nice little school, and you have a nice wife at home. Well, can Black people have the American dream? That movie definitely said no. That movie said no. If someone was to watch that movie, I'd be like, no, I don't want to move into any white neighborhood because that has terrorized me. But who knows? I do wonder what the discussions will be like after, more people see the movie and start talking about it. But it was definitely interesting to watch. You do have to brace yourself for it because it is horrific. It's horrific. The scenes, the imagery and everything is so well done, but it is really tough to watch, especially for someone like me. I don't like horror movies. Especially when I'm by myself. Like I had to watch this movie in the daytime, light, like all sunny, light coming into the room. Like I couldn't watch it. I could not watch it at night. But like if I had like a boyfriend or something, I would have been like, they would have been like, "Oh, get off of me," because it was really tough to watch. But I'm glad I got the guts to finally watch it because it broke down a lot of important things that I think a lot of folks should think about in this country and in our history. I hope people don't just watch that movie and go, "Oh, good movie." I hope people really take the time to think. Let me see the last comments. Oh my gosh. You couldn't make it past the second episode? Oh, well, I'm glad you were able to join the summary. It's a good movie, but yes, it is really tough to watch. So I do not blame you. I definitely had to pause it. And I was like, because I watched a portion. I don't think I watched the full first scene. I literally was like, oh, I saw them days ago. I think it was last week, and I like started watching it. And I was like, oh no. I was just like, oh no, not doing it. That is too scary. I can't. And then I don't know, like Saturday, I was just like, I'm going to watch this movie. And I thought it was a movie. I didn't know it was a movie series. So I was like, I was literally like, it keeps going. There's another one. When is this? I was literally like, when is this going to be over? It was like, it's tough for like thinking about a Black person watching it, because it's like, you're kind of expecting certain things to happen. You know that these things have happened in history, and it's just like, oh my gosh, this is horrific. It's horrible. But again, I'm glad I was able to watch the whole thing. Not, I don't say that to keep anyone from watching it, but I say that because Tiff, I get it. I feel you. I feel you. You guys are asking each other, how you guys doing? Hopefully everyone's doing well. Cool. Oh, thank you, DOD. I appreciate that. That means a lot coming from you. So thank you. And oh, thank you, Triumphant Tiff. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. That really means a lot. I appreciate it, guys, and ladies. My beautiful lady in the chat. Also, Jessica. Oh, hello. Hello. You missed a full breakdown of the horrors of this country, which is America. Yes, little Mar. Oh, is that how you pronounce it? Little Marvin? Oh, have I been messing up this guy's name? Oops. I said Little Marvin. My bad. Catwoman. Wait, what are you guys talking about? Catwoman. Let me see here. He's Black if he's little B Mar. Yes. Yeah. He's a Black man. Thank you, Edward. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to shut this down. Let me just greet everybody in here. I knew he was Black when you said his name is Little Mar. Oh, okay. Yes, Little Marvin. Yes. And someone had messaged me earlier because I was writing this on my timeline. I was just like, after I saw it, I like did a post, which is how King of Kill was like, hey, can you do a breakdown? He was like, I know it's not your normal, it's like against the brand, but can you do a video breakdown? I was just like, I kept thinking about it today, and I was just like, I need to talk about this to somebody. So I'm gonna actually do it. I'm gonna do a breakdown. Hey JMJ, welcome in. Pardon your typos. No worries. I knew what you meant. Yeah, you really have to commit to a series, be it basic TV, cable, premium. I followed The Walking Dead through 7 long seasons. See, I'm fine with watching The Walking Dead. I can watch The Walking Dead, but this was just so much history. It was a lot. So, I mean, I would definitely recommend it. I definitely hope Mr. Little Marvin gets all of his coin for this work of art. All the actors and actresses were amazing, like amazing. Everything was just so well done. So, I mean, kudos to all the creators, kudos to Little Marvin for his work of art. And I mean, again, I just hope people really do think about what the takeaways are from his message. And I'm going to do some research just to see what he intended, because I'm sure there was a ton of thought that went into every single, instance and every single scene. So there's probably even more to be broken down. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I am going to get off of here because I didn't plan on being on here for nearly 2 hours breaking down this movie, but there was just that much to talk about. So again, I appreciate you guys, and I hope you guys have a lovely week. And I keep saying guys, but my ladies and gentlemen, my lovely people in the chat, hope you all have a great rest of the week. And I do plan on coming on live tomorrow, and then I think I'm on again on Thursday. And so we'll talk then, and have a great night. Bye.